Right, here we go. Right mishmash this week. Certain suggestions from my guests and one or two that we put in ourselves. For the third consecutive week, we can't get him off the list. It's Presenting Percy and the Wrong Way Round School around Galway to help him out. What do you think of that then, Neil Channing?
I thought that was hysterical, actually. I mean, if it had been in the UK, I guess I'd have been saying it's a disgrace, you know, why are these courses pandering? You know, we've got all these races, we're all moaning that there's not enough runners in the races, and, you know, courses are busy reversing the way round of their fences in order to help somebody have a secret gallop. I don't know. I did see the jockey was saying he's never been to the stable before. I don't know whether you saw that.
Yes, that was Davy Russell.
Davy Russell. Yeah. I mean, obviously he does tell a few.
He likes to pull everyone's plonker from.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's getting it ready for the Stayers Hurdle, isn't he? But yeah, it's mad, isn't it? The whole story's a bit mad. I don't know. I'm not hugely keen on it though. It's the blue ribbon event, and I sort of feel like it's. You know, I'd like to. We've seen more of it on Talking Points Presenting Percy than we have on the track this year.
Exactly, Tim. If you were preparing a horse for the Gold Cup, would you be brave enough to go there with one spin over hurdles?
Well, I definitely wouldn't. If the horse was sound and well, I get on and run it really, and sort of compete at the level you need to compete at, like the King George, Great Trials and things like that. Why exactly they've gone down this route, I'm not wholly certain. I think from what I've seen, it's all to do with the ground being too soft or too firm or whatever it may be. So, look, who can argue he's delivered with this horse in the Potemps, he's delivered it within the RSA. Look, let's just let the trainer do what he does and take his chance. When
you hear trainers being called geniuses, are you somewhat sceptical that any trainer can actually be a genius?
I think it boils down to having a faster horse than all the others in the race. We overcomplicate it. Fast horses win races. The key to trainers is getting as many good horses and performing with them. Don't get me wrong, but there's so many good trainers out there now that, you know, I think if you swap the horse into perhaps 50, 60, 70 yards, it'd still perform.
I mean, there clearly are one or two who are very, very good because their record shows it. But there are more good trainers now than there ever were.
Exactly. The industry, since the recession, I think it's sort of the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, and now it's a very, very competitive game.
There you go. There you go. You weren't expecting that.
That's caught me out.
Welcome to the programme, Tim Vaughan. Clearly you never watched it before. Why should he be very busy, man? Cheltenham whips. The whip rules are going to tighten up for Cheltenham, Charlie, insofar as that the ban is going to be more significant for jockeys thereafter if they breach the rules of Cheltenham, which I think is a good thing.
I think it's a good thing. The welfare piece more generally is a really, really important piece that's going on in our industry. Whether it's in government or through the regions, the constituency, through the constituency MPs, or through those welfare bodies that would like to see the abolition of horse racing. So I certainly think this is a good thing. I have every confidence, having said that, that the jockeys will go out and ride with that in mind, and I do think we are seeing improvements in that sphere.
When I say it's a good thing, I mean if you're going to put people in pro-whip or anti-whip categories, I'm definitely in the pro-whip category, insofar as I actually think it's something the BHA has regulated very well in the last few years, and I don't think the regulations need tightening. I think the penalties for the win at all costs need tightening, and then I think they'd neatly box it off, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. Rules are there and they're set. They need to be adhered to. It's if I was on the horse or trained the second horse in a race whereby the winner has used the whip more than my jockey has, because my jockey stayed within the rules, it would be extremely frustrating. Whether it was a fine or whether it was a suspension for that jockey doesn't give you back your race at the festival, your race anywhere for that matter. So, you know, I think the balance is probably about right. If you're using the whip too much, it does look a bit barbaric. We don't want to give that image out to the country, and I think the BHA have got it right, really. And as you rightly said, we just need to ensure that jockeys do adhere to it, and fair is fair. If one jockey can use it 8 times, then so should the other jockey use it 8 times.
It's amazing how we recycle ideas in racing. Because there was a situation at the end of the 90s, I think, where if you breached the rules in a big race, you got an automatic ban that was more significant, then that went away, and now it seems to have come back again. It leads us on to harmonisation, because this week, Charlie, the French have said that the maximum number of strikes in a race has come down from 6 to 5, the whip rules, and Ireland, significantly, for the first ever time, have introduced a number of strokes which will trigger a steward's inquiry, and that number is 8. So it looks as though the nations are starting to move closer together.
And I think every racing jurisdiction recognises that, you know, let's not forget use of the whip is not a welfare issue, it's a perception issue. And I think all jurisdictions are now recognising that actually, if we want to retain our place in society's sporting hierarchy, if you like, the second most attended sport, then we're going to have to engage the next generation. And the use of the whip and the controlled use of the whip is one element of that perception play piece, if you like, that is going to help us retain that place as an industry. So yes, harmonisation is a good thing.
And generally moving the countries closer together, Tim, has to be the right thing, whether or not you agree with the direction they're moving in.
I couldn't agree more. At the end of the day, our jockeys are riding in all three of those countries that, you know, that we want to bring together. We are strong as a sport, with certainly with the national hunt racing, well, obviously the flat as well, but with the national hunt racing, it's why not? It just makes sense that everyone's playing on the same even keel, and the likes of the Irish jockeys coming over to Britain. Otherwise, it's difficult for them because they're not in that system. It's all about having the system, and it's conditioning your mind how many you can use, and if it's the same everywhere, well, it's fair.
Any way that this exercises your members? Do you ever get any emails about the use of the whip from your 8,000 members?
No, not hugely. It's not one that exercises our members particularly. But all I will say is that, you know, the French, the Irish, and the English have got to work on this, because we are the last bastion of national hunt racing. It doesn't really exist anywhere else in the world like it does with us. So it's for us to make sure that perception and that welfare piece really is looked after.
Yeah. Okay, that's the harmonisation of whip rules, which seems to be coming together this week. Watson is, of course, Tom Watson, Labour Party Deputy Leader, Neil Channing, who this week has suggested that a Labour government might curb stakes on horse racing. That strikes fear into my heart.
Well, obviously, Tom Watson, not content with hacking me off by trying to do as much as he can to dislodge Labour in the polls, has decided to try and pee me off in another way this week. Yeah, he was making a speech to the IPPR, who are a think tank, and he was suggesting, possibly rightly, that the 2005 Gambling Act, which was a Labour piece of legislation, has not kept up with modern times, because we now have much more internet gambling than we did in 2005, or certainly in the years leading up to that when they were preparing the Act. We've had all the thing about FOBTs, and we've reduced the stakes to £2 now. But of course, the argument of some people is to say, well, hang on a minute, you know, I can easily go online and lose unlimited amounts playing roulette or whatever. And during the speech, he also brought in sports gambling and horse gambling as saying, well, you know, we need to be careful about that kind of thing. Now, I mean, you know, Tom Watson, he's the deputy leader of the Labour Party, and he's the spokesman on culture, media and sport. But he's a long way from ending up being the Minister for Culture, Media and Sport.
Well, he's a long way from being the Minister or Secretary of State for anything if Jeremy Corbyn becomes Prime Minister.
Well, he may not wish to have Tom Watson in his cabinet as possible. So it's a guarantee that anything's going to actually happen. But I think from the industry point of view, Richard Flint of Sky Betting and Gaming, and also somebody from William Hills, came out and kind of welcomed it, because I think they feel like they didn't lead on the front foot with FOBTs, and they were sort of beaten into submission and told what to do. And I think they realised that it's better if you clean your own house up and don't let somebody else come and meddle. So I think there is a general feeling that they're going to, the bell's gone, hasn't it? That they're going to, they're going to work on this as an industry. And there's been some positive noises. It's not a disaster.
OK, let's move on to talk about Brexit again, but more specifically this time. One of Europe's leading thoroughbred shipping agencies is in limbo over how it will operate if the UK leaves the EU on March the 29th, which it probably won't. Kevin Needham said the company had advised clients not to move any horses to the EU in the first 2 weeks of April, which is quite worrying when you think about what that entails. The tripartite agreement, which allows free movement of racehorses between the UK, Ireland and France, ceases to apply following Brexit. So, Charlie, how worried should we be about this?
Well, I think we should all be worried. I don't think it's not just going to affect us industry, but as an entire country. We are very close to government as an industry on this, I'm pleased to say, and we've been working very closely with the Irish and French on this, both here and in Brussels. And the fact that we have been working that closely with them, and the fact that we have been helping them write the policy, and we're still unclear, kind of tells you everything that we know as a country about what is or isn't going to happen as Brexit.
Just to clarify, this is in terms of if there's a no-deal Brexit.
Yeah, this is a no-deal Brexit.
Which has kind of drifted to kind of 8-1 in the exchange market now due to the things that we're going through last week.
Yeah,
obviously we'll have a load more.
The issue here is the customs union.
Yeah.
You crash out of the customs union, it's the issue. So lots been made about how from a health perspective it's fine because they'll accept horses in terms of their health status between the three countries, no issue. This is border control and this is a customs issue over which we have far less control.
Far less control, absolutely, and it's going to be potentially a real problem, absolutely. And it's not just the transport of race horses from my members' perspective, but all the broodmares and young stock that's transported as well. It potentially could be a very, very big problem, yes.
So quickly, what's going to happen with Brexit in 17 seconds?
Well, we're going to have a load of big votes, aren't we, during Cheltenham, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, we're still in the same situation. There's no majority in the House for any option, basically.
Because nothing's going to happen by March the 29th, is it?
No, it'll be delayed for sure.
So June...
Article 50 will be deferred to June because it can't be later because of the European election.
June, May's fudge deal?
I don't know. I mean, who knows?
Well, if you don't know, the rest of us are completely in the dark. You wanted to talk about staffing, Tim?
Yeah, really, there's no question there's a staffing shortage now, but I think what slightly frustrates me is that I think as a country, full stop, there's staffing shortages in every area, every discipline. And I just feel that the industry can sometimes sell our industry short. All we ever go on about is the long hours, the unsociable hours, the this, the that. And I just think, look, you know, I've been fortunate. I've worked in a different industry. You know, I was a chartered surveyor before going into racing, so I've seen how hard everyone works. Work is work. It's hard work. You've just got to graft. That's what life's all about, unfortunately. But we don't sell the positives of the racing industry. You know, we have the pleasure of working with these lovely animals. I get up, you know, as I said, I've worked in a corporate sort of entity where you go into work, you get in your car, you drive there, you're in an office all day. Now I have the pleasure of seeing animals progress and mature and go to sales and different things, and the staff have that journey with those horses. And it is a great, great industry, and I just feel that we seem to continually, you look at the Racing Post, oh, it's this, it's that. It's always so negative, and I just think if you plant that seed enough, everyone becomes to think it's negative. There's no need for that, really. You know, they are comparatively now, we are paying staff as an industry as much as any other industry at that level of education that they've derived, I suppose, and you know, the level they're at. So I don't see why we sell it so short. There's so many positives in the sport, and the staff do such a good job. Don't get me wrong, they work so hard, and you know, it's all about unity. And you know, fortunately in our yard we get together, and there are long days and it is hard, but why do we sell it that it's so poor?
It's interesting you say that because you've come from outside the industry initially. This is not the only job where people have antisocial hours, long hours, difficult hours, work weekends. There's so many jobs like that.
As I say to my guys, where do you go when you finish evening stables when you don't want to work at 5 o'clock because you want to get dressed up to go out on a Saturday night? Who's serving you your drinks? Who's serving you your food? We all got to work.
Who's logging on betting on the football on a Saturday night?
Oh no, she's made it again. I mean, I'm her biggest fan. And she's broken the record for most consecutive wins, and she'd already broken the record for most Grade 1s and just about everything else. But Winks has broken the record for appearances on this list as well. What now for this great mare? A few more exhibition rounds. Are you bothered by the fact she's just turning up and beating 6 of her own stable companions?
I did wake up at 4:30 this morning to read the last 7 Racing Posts so that I was on top of my brief for this morning. I didn't set the alarm for Winks the other day, sorry. Is that bad? I don't even watch it anymore, really. I mean, sure, it's lovely, and Debbie seems great, and she really enjoys it, and they're winning loads of money. Good luck to them. I'm not that bothered.
But that in itself is a slightly damning indictment, isn't it? Of the fact that you can get kind of Winks fatigue. Were you up at 4:30 in the morning?
I wasn't, but
there you go.
But she is the most amazing mare, and she can only beat what's put in front of her.
Of course.
And again, we go back to that dreadful word perception. But wow, what is she doing for Australian racing to get the next?
I'm not denigrating the performances. I mean, I think it's great and everything like that.
The key to it is to have an athlete that has the constitution, the mental strength, and ability to do what she's done. That is what's incredible about it all. And you've just got to admire in awe of that. You know, we look at Altios and Quarter Stars, these type of horses. What makes them different is their longevity, their ability to stay in one piece, continually go to the sword and keep taking on. I just think we need to admire her. It's as simple as that. She's just phenomenal achievement.
Actually, if you had a sort of Class 6, Class 5 horse who could win that many races, they would be some sort of folk hero.
Absolutely.
The fact that you can do it at that level is pretty insane.
And you look at the ROA Awards last year, and all those, you know, I think Rocket Roy beat a Royal Ascot Group 1 winner to the prize. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Those were the rest of this week's Talking Points.